OK, so welcome back to Patrick Christy's tonight, and we've got a big exclusive for you now. Are Brits being put at risk as a violent asylum seeker has been put back out onto the streets? A schizophrenic illegal migrant who once threatened a shopkeeper with a broken bottle is being released back into the community, despite judges admitting that he poses a significant risk. He's a Nigerian man, and he's only known as BRO because he's got an anonymity order. And he first came to Britain in 2021. He was hidden in the back of a lorry, and he came through Dover. He actually claimed to be a child migrant on arrival. However, it's now believed that he's about 25 years old. Since then, doctors have diagnosed him with paranoid schizophrenia with psychotic features and antisocial personality disorder. And he's notorious for his violent behaviour. So, in May, a tribunal granted him conditional bail on the basis that he provided them with approved accommodation. I'll just read out the full detail of all of this for you now. Just weeks after his arrival, whilst living in Wolverhampton, he travelled to Scotland without a ticket. There, he threatened a shopkeeper with a broken bottle and hurled abuse at police officers. In October 2024, he was convicted and sentenced to 18 months in prison. He was released on licence in January 2025. He was immediately detained under immigration powers for removal to Nigeria. Although he had withdrawn his asylum claim a month later, it was reinstated when officials found that he had not fully understood what he'd signed. So then he was transferred to Brookhouse Immigration Removal Centre in February, where doctors raised these concerns about his mental health and possible past torture. Despite this, the Home Office kept him in detention. His behaviour got worse, with incidents of fire setting and sexual misconduct, and that prompted him to be sent to prison in that April. Well, this week, Deputy High Court Judge Alan Bates ruled that he must be freed by September the 8th. We're on the 2nd of September at the moment. He said that the Home Secretary should have realised that the man could not be deported swiftly, and they've actually said as well that he might now have a claim for damages for unlawful detention. So there's quite a lot to go at there. I'm joined now by immigration lawyer Mitch Potter. Thank you for this. Right, OK, so first things first, I think my viewers and listeners might be wondering why we aren't just deporting this guy.
So, under the immigration law, whilst an asylum claim is pending, we don't have the right to deport. So until that decision is made, there is no right to do that. That is the law. That is how it is shaped. Whether we agree with that or not, that is the position. So what the Home Office needs to do is make a decision on whether his claim for asylum is genuine and whether it is credible. If they say no to both of those points, then we can deport him via a deportation order.
So would it not be a case for an automatic refusal if he's been sentenced for threatening a shopkeeper with a broken bottle, obviously being mentally dangerous, and that is a medical view here based on what he's got, fire setting, sexual misconduct? Would he not just press the reject button on that?
No. So it's not like in legal routes where you have, public goods, non-conducive, and, good character requirements. That doesn't apply in asylum cases because you're dealing with people who have been persecuted, fear for their lives, etc. Right? So those rules don't quite apply here. What we can say is that he has to go through that process. He has to have an interview with the Home Office. They have to take everything into account. His previous conviction for the 18 months would be taken into account. That is a serious crime under the Act, OK? He would be refused asylum on that basis.
Would he definitely be?
I can't say for certain, Patrick, right? But sort of on the facts that you've given me and what I know, that would be serious enough for it to be refused.
And even if he said that he had fear of torture in his home country, because that's what I'm worried about here, and that's what I think a lot of people will be worried about, which is that you could come to a country illegally, claiming to be a child, which has turned out to be fake, have all sorts of different violent mental health problems, commit a series of crimes, be considered an active danger, likely to reoffend, and if he says he's going to be tortured in Nigeria, we have to keep him.
So all of this would be taken into consideration by the caseworker. You can't look at each point individually, you have to look at it as a whole. Whether we agree with that or we don't agree with it, whether he is dangerous, whether he isn't, we have to consider it all as a whole. That risk of persecution is high, but does that sort of, negate everything that he's done in the UK so far? Probably not, in my view. right? So my advice to him would be leave now, leave on your own accord, OK? But, you know, you have to sort of balance the moral versus the legal sort of conundrums here.
I can
you know,
hear
where are we at?
Well, yeah, quite. And also, presumably, a moral duty, I would hope, anyway, to the people who are in Britain and wherever this guy is going to be roaming the streets now. In terms of an anonymity order about this, now, I would argue there's a public interest in us knowing who this guy is, because if he poses the kind of danger that he clearly does, should we not be able to picture him and recognise him? Let's say he's moved back to Wolverhampton. I've got no idea where he is, but let's say he has. Should the people of Wolverhampton have a right to know who he is?
There is a few reasons and sort of an order like this would be put into place, but without sort of reading the judge's mind, I can't tell you. I'm not in the facts of the case. So, you know, some reasons are national security concerns, if there's something going on there. You know, there could be an ongoing investigation into something, which means that this going out into the public would just sort of prejudice the police in that sort of regard. So there's multiple different things that sort of go into these. So
the Home Office wants to detain him. So this appears to be a slightly, I would argue anyway, relatively rare instance of the Home Office actually seriously trying to do something good here. But this judge has said that the Home Office have to release him out into the public by September the 8th. I'll read you the quote here. It may be that following the claimant's release, these proceedings can be transferred to the county court to continue as a claim for damages for unlawful detention. What, so he might, this guy might sue this government for detaining him unlawfully?
Yes, so effectively what the judge is saying here is there is a genuine asylum claim outstanding. There is no reason for the Home Office to hold him in an immigration detention centre under immigration law. OK, not the criminal aspect, not the danger, nothing like that. Immigration alone. That's how I read this. So, effectively, whilst that's outstanding, he is not subject to a deportation order. Therefore, he can't be detained. He should be put on immigration bail. So that's where this comes from.
Will they use his unlawful detention, if indeed it is deemed to be, as an additional claim as to why he should stay in the country? You know, could he just claim that he's got trauma from that? No,
not in my view, not in my legal opinion, no. I mean, they're two separate things. The civil and the immigration are two separate things. Yes, you know, you would use it. But ultimately, it's not going to be the deciding factor.
OK, just sorry, very quickly, just want to emphasise something here on this. So as it currently stands in Britain, the way the law is, we are powerless to automatically deport somebody like this. We have to have them commit whatever they commit and then still go through an asylum claim with them before we can deport them.
Yes.
Right.
Effectively. I mean, that's separate from the criminal matter in its entirety. You can still go to prison whilst your asylum claim's outstanding, protect that way. But at the minute, yes. OK.
Mitch, thank you very much. Always a pleasure to see you, and thank you for coming into the studio. Mitch Potter there is an immigration lawyer. Well, you can pick the bones out of that one at home. We did contact the Home Office. We are still awaiting a response for that.